Mother-in-law gave my house keys to her convicted darling daughter who no one was in contact with for years because of her crazy history, and she created a mess out of the entire place. So I called the cops, but now Mill is the one facing charges because her daughter is nowhere to be found and no one wants to bail her out, including her own husband and son. I, 30 female, have been with my husband Mason, 30 male, since we were 14. That means I have known his family for over 15 years, and over that time, I have learned a lot about them. Some of it good, some of it bad. His family has always been complicated, but for the most part, I have tried to stay out of the drama. I thought I understood how things worked until now. Mason's sister, Linda, 35 female, has had a rough life. Growing up, she was always the wild card, unpredictable, always involved in some kind of trouble. She was not always this way though. There was a time when we were younger when Linda was just a regular teenager. But as time went on, things started to spiral. I do not know what happened exactly, but she got into drugs, and that was the beginning of everything falling apart. She was not just experimenting. Linda went deep into the world of addiction, and with that came the theft, lying and manipulation. She would steal from family members, lie about where she had been or what she was doing, and hurt people without seeming to care. She broke my heart when she once stole money from Mason and me. We had saved up for months to buy a new fridge, and the money was gone in the blink of an eye. When we confronted her, she acted like it was no big deal, even laughed it off as if we were overreacting. But that was just Linda. No responsibility, no remorse. Her problems did not stop there. The drugs caused her to act violently, and soon, she was arrested. It was not just small crimes anymore. Linda was involved in serious offenses. She was robbing stores, getting into fights, and facing charges that were hard to overlook. This is when Mason, his parents, and the rest of the family began to distance themselves from her. We all understood that she would not change no matter how many chances we offered. I remember Mason and I discussing how we could no longer support her harmful actions. It was not that we did not care, but we could not allow it to continue. The more we helped her, the more she took, and things never improved. She went to rehab several times, and for a short while, we felt hopeful. We all believed that Linda might finally get clean and change her life, but she kept relapsing. It felt like watching someone drown without trying to save themselves. Each relapse brought more chaos, more stolen money, more lies, and more broken promises. She hurt those who wanted to help her, which was the hardest part. Mason, in particular, found it difficult. He loved his sister, but it became clear that she was dragging him further into her problems. Eventually, he decided to stop talking to her. He could not bear to see her destroy the family any longer. So here's where things get interesting. My mother-in-law, Nancy, 60 female, has always had a special place in her heart for Linda. No matter how many times Linda stumbled, Nancy was convinced her daughter deserved another shot and that eventually Linda would pull herself together. I totally understand. She is a mom and you want to see the best in your kids. But over time, this mindset has led Nancy to enable Linda in ways that have landed the family in hot water. Recently, things reached a breaking point when Nancy did something I never expected. Nancy called me out of the blue one day while Mason and I were planning to leave for a short work trip. She told me that Linda had reached out to her, claiming that she was turning her life around and needed a place to stay for a little while. Then Nancy dropped the bombshell. She had given Linda my house keys. She said it was because Linda had nowhere else to go and needed somewhere to stay while we were away. I was floored. I could not believe it. I did not even know how to respond. I asked her if she was serious, and she just kept insisting that I was overreacting. She said that Linda was doing better and that it would only be temporary and that everything would be fine. I told her no. There was no way I was going to allow Linda to stay in my house, especially after everything that had happened in the past. I made it very clear that I did not trust Linda and I was not okay with her staying there. But Nancy did not listen. She told me not to worry, that she had it handled and I should just relax. At that point I tried to let it go, but I was livid. I could not believe my mother-in-law would do something so reckless. However, since Mason and I were leaving the next day, I did not want to cause a huge argument right before we left. So I decided to lock up everything in the house, valuables, important documents, anything that could be damaged or stolen. I checked all the doors, windows, double-checked the locks, and honestly I just hoped that Linda would not even show up, or if she did, she would not do any damage. We left and for a few days everything seemed fine, but then I got a call from my neighbor. They told me they had seen Linda at the house coming and going over the last few days. Apparently, she was in and out and they were concerned because they did not recognize her. My heart sank and I tried calling Nancy to find out what was going on, but she did not pick up. I tried again and again but no response. At this point, I was panicking. My mind was racing and I just could not shake the feeling that Linda was probably doing something awful inside my house. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I could not just sit back and wait for the worst to happen. I did not know what Linda was doing in there. She could have been throwing parties, tearing the place apart or worse. I tried to call Mason but he was in the middle of work meetings and could not get back to me right away. I was alone in this situation and I felt completely powerless. I had no idea what to do, so I called the cops. I know some people might think calling the cops was extreme, but at that moment I honestly did not feel like I had any other choice. I needed to protect my home and I had no idea what Linda was up to. The thought of her being in my house alone, potentially doing God knows what, was just too much. Cops came and after checking the house they confirmed my worst fears. Linda was not there anymore, but the damage was done. My house was a mess. There were broken things, spilled drinks, trash everywhere and a general sense of chaos. I could not believe it. It was not just a mess, it was the fact that Nancy had let this happen. She had completely disregarded my wishes and allowed Linda into my home without my permission. It was a violation, plain and simple. Things just took a turn for the worse. The police informed me that Nancy might actually be in trouble for handing over my house keys to Linda without my permission. I was completely shocked. I never thought it would escalate like this, but it turns out Nancy broke some property laws. Now she's being questioned, and it seems like she could face some serious legal issues because of it. And to make matters worse, Linda has vanished. Nobody knows where she's gone. She's totally off the grid. I'm not even sure if she's safe, but honestly I am past caring. She's already caused enough chaos in our lives. Mason was furious when he found out. He did not know Nancy had done this, and when he heard, he called me immediately. He was annoyed, but more than that, he was just disappointed in his mom. He could not believe she would pull something like this, especially after everything that had happened with Linda. I get where he's coming from. This is a huge mess, and he is caught in the middle of it all. But he also made it clear that he was not going to help Nancy with her legal issues. He was done. Ralph, 65 male, his dad, did not really have much to say about it. He's always been the neutral one and he did not want to get involved because he said he had warned Nancy about Linda and she didn't listen to him, so she should face the consequences. Honestly, no one in the family wants to help Nancy right now. Not Ralph, not Mason, no one. And this is honestly a little bit heartbreaking. So here I am trying to clean up the mess left behind by Linda, dealing with the fallout from my mother-in-law's actions and wondering if I did the right thing by calling the cops. I know I was trying to protect myself and my home, but now I feel guilty. Did I go too far? Should I have handled things differently? I do not know anymore. So Ida for calling the cops on my sister-in-law and putting my mother-in-law in legal trouble? Update 1. Hey, so it has been 2 weeks since the whole incident, and here's an update. After I called the cops on my sister-in-law, Linda, for being in my house without my permission, things escalated pretty quickly. Linda, as expected, disappeared. We still do not know where she is or what she's up to, and at this point, I've kind of given up on figuring it out. But the real drama started when my mother-in-law, Nancy, got involved. Nancy was eventually bailed out of jail by my father-in-law, Ralph. I honestly never thought I would see the day when Nancy would be in trouble with the law. But here we are. I guess it should not be that surprising considering the way she's been enabling Linda for years, but still, this is a whole new level. When Nancy was arrested, I was in shock. I never thought she would go as far as handing over my house keys to Linda, especially after everything that has happened in the past. But that's exactly what she did, and now she's in serious legal trouble for it. The thing is, even after getting out of jail, Nancy has not once taken responsibility for what happened. Instead, she is still defending Linda like a maniac. It's like she cannot see the damage Linda has done, or maybe she just refuses to. I understand that she is her daughter, and I get that as a mother, she probably wants to believe the best in her child. But at some point, you have to face the facts. Linda is a grown woman who has made more than enough mistakes and Nancy needs to stop enabling her. Nancy still insists that Linda is turning her life around and that I should give her another chance. She's tried to call me several times, leaving voicemails, begging me to understand that she did not think things would go this far, but I just don't buy it anymore. She's been giving Linda chance after chance for years and all that has happened is more pain and more destruction. It's not that I don't care about Linda. It's just that I cannot keep allowing my home and my peace of mind to be put at risk because Nancy is too blinded by love to see the damage that has been done. Mason and I are still trying to cope with the chaos Linda left behind. She wrecked a ton of our stuff, probably worth $100 or even $1,000. When I first walked in and saw the disaster, I was in shock. There were shattered items everywhere, stains from food and drinks all over the furniture. Everything was scattered like a tornado had hit. It was not just messy. It looked like someone intentionally tried to ruin everything. I honestly do not even know where to start with a list of things that need fixing or replacing. The fridge, the couch, the coffee table, everything is either broken or completely beyond saving. It really hit me how bad it was once we got home and started going through the mess. Mason is understandably furious about what happened. He's angry with his mom for letting Linda into our home, but he's even more upset about the damage Linda caused. He has actually asked Nancy to reimburse us for everything, every single item that was ruined or destroyed. I get that Mason's upset, but part of me feels guilty because I am the one who called the cops. I know I had a good reason for it, but I cannot help but feel like I'm the one who set everything in motion, and now Nancy is in legal trouble. Mason is fighting with his mom and I'm left cleaning up the mess. At first, Nancy refused to take any responsibility for the destruction of our house. She kept saying that Linda did not mean any harm and that we were all overreacting. But when Mason told her that she needed to reimburse us for the damage, Nancy's reaction was to get defensive. She went on and on about how Linda is getting better and just needs support, but that is not the issue here. The issue is that Linda ruined our things, broke our trust, and caused chaos in our lives. Mason told Nancy that if she was going to keep defending Linda, then she needed to make things right by paying for the damages. And, honestly, I agree with him, but it feels like Nancy is not even hearing us anymore. Instead of facing the reality of the situation, she's still all about protecting Linda no matter the cost. I'm not sure if it's out of guilt or if she truly believes Linda is capable of change. Either way, it is becoming clear that Nancy's blind loyalty to her daughter is driving a wedge between her and the rest of the family, and now everyone is cutting Nancy off, even Ralph, who has always been the more neutral one in the family, and distancing himself from her. He told Nancy that he warned her about Linda, but that he could not keep supporting her decisions. Mason has been very vocal about his disappointment in his mom. He feels betrayed by her actions, and I do not blame him. The whole thing feels like a huge violation. She completely disregarded my wishes when she let Linda into our house. And now we are dealing with the aftermath of that. Mason has said that he is done helping his mom and that she's on her own when it comes to the legal trouble she's facing. And as much as I can understand his anger, part of me feels bad for her too. I mean, she has been bailed out by Ralph, but that does not change the fact that Nancy is still in serious legal trouble. At this point, I just want to move on from this whole mess. Linda is still missing in action, and frankly I do not care where she is anymore. I have done what I can to protect my home and my peace, and I don't feel guilty about calling the cops anymore. But seeing Nancy defend her daughter so fiercely while completely disregarding the damage she has caused is hard to watch. I've tried talking to her, but it's like talking to a brick wall. She refuses to admit that Linda is in the wrong, and that has made things even worse for all of us. I know this situation is far from over and I'm not sure what to do next. I'm just trying to take it day by day and focus on cleaning up the mess Linda left behind. But part of me is exhausted from dealing with Nancy and the way she's acting. I don't know if it's even possible to repair the damage done to my relationship with her, but I'm not sure I even want to at this point. Update 2. Hey, so I wanted to give you all an update because things have gotten even more out of hand. A couple of days back, Ralph Mason's dad received a call from his bank regarding some odd charges on his credit card. They informed him about some suspicious activity, and the bank had put a hold on it. Being the careful type, Ralph quickly canceled his card, suspecting it might have been hacked or something similar. He had not made any unusual purchases, so it all felt off. Shortly after he canceled the card, he got a call from Linda. You will not believe what happened. Linda somehow managed to get her hands on Ralph's credit card and was using it without him knowing. When Ralph canceled the card, she called him up insisting he make things right. And get this, she did not even say sorry or explain why she used his card without asking. Instead, she just demanded more money from him because she needed it to live her life. I'm honestly at a loss for words. The level of entitlement is just insane. Of course, Ralph was absolutely furious. Can you blame him? Not only had Linda stolen from him, but now she was acting like it was his fault for canceling the card. He was done at that point. Ralph filed another police report for theft, and honestly, I do not even know how Linda can keep doing this and still expect people to treat her like she's some poor victim. I mean, this is theft, plain and simple. It is wild how Nancy is still backing up Linda as if nothing is off. She's actually telling Ralph that Linda did not intend any harm, that it was just an accident. I really cannot wrap my head around how Nancy can keep defending Linda after all the chaos. Linda has taken from us and messed up our place, and now she has done the same to Ralph. And Nancy? She's still in her corner claiming that Linda just needs more opportunities. It's like she's in a whole different world. Ralph at this point has had enough. He flat out told Nancy that he was done making excuses for Linda. He said he was not going to keep enabling her behavior and that Nancy needed to wake up. I think that was the breaking point for him. Ralph has always been the calm one in the family, the one who tries to keep the peace, but even he cannot stand by and watch this go on any longer. He told Nancy he was not backing her up anymore, and he even said that if she's going to keep defending Linda, she can do it on her own. Ralph is tired of being the one who tries to smooth things over, only for Nancy to continue enabling Linda. Mason, on the other hand, is still sticking to his demand that Nancy reimburse us for all the damages caused by Linda. Honestly, I do not blame him. We have had to deal with $1,000 worth of damage to our home, broken items, ruined furniture, and just a general mess that we have had to clean up. Nancy letting Linda into our house without permission was a huge violation, and Mason is not backing down. He has made it clear to his mom that if she's going to keep pretending Linda is innocent, then she needs to pay for damage. He does not care if she is his mom. He is not letting her off the hook this time. I cannot even begin to explain how exhausting it is to deal with this. I feel like I'm living in some kind of soap opera where nothing makes sense and no one is willing to take responsibility for their actions. Nancy's constant defending of Linda is making it hard for anyone to respect her, and I am starting to think that maybe I was too quick to try and keep the peace. Every time we try to move on from this, she pulls us right back in with her excuses and blind loyalty to Linda. It's like she has completely lost touch with reality. And do not even get me started on how Mason is dealing with it. He's trying to be patient, but I can tell he's starting to crack under the pressure. I mean, how many times can you ask your mom to take responsibility for her actions before you just give up? He loves his mom, but I think he's reaching his limit. He's frustrated, and I can tell it's putting a huge strain on their relationship. He has asked her to reimburse us multiple times now, and she still refuses to take any responsibility. I do not know what the next step is. I'm trying to stay out of it, but it is hard when it's affecting our lives so much. I honestly do not know how much longer I can deal with the stress of it all. I want to move on, but Nancy and Linda just keep pulling us back into their chaos. Update 3. Hey, so here's an update about whatever has happened in the last almost 7 months. After all the chaos with Linda and the drama of our place, Nancy finally sorted out her legal troubles. She worked through the charges, and from what I hear, she dodged any major fallout. Honestly, I was a bit shocked at how smoothly she got through it, but it looks like she did everything by the book, paid any fines, and now she's off the hook. But trust me, that is just the beginning of the story. Linda, as if to top it off, her already chaotic existence, reappeared at my in-laws' house after several months of being missing in action. This time though, she had a major surprise for everyone. She was pregnant, and not just early in her pregnancy either. She was 8 months pregnant. Yep. You read that right. 35 weeks, nearly ready to pop. Nancy, of course, did not hesitate for a second. She opened her arms to Linda and took her in as if nothing had ever happened. I was honestly not even shocked after all the lies, theft, and chaos Linda had caused. Nancy seemed to fall right back into her old patterns. I understand that she is Linda's mother, but at some point you have to draw the line. Apparently Nancy had not reached that point yet. Not long after Linda moved in, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. He was beautiful, of course, every baby is, but there was a cold, uncomfortable reality hanging over the situation. Linda did not even seem to care about her son, showing no interest in feeding, changing, or caring for him. It quickly became clear to Nancy that she was the one handling all the responsibilities. Day after day, she was the one looking after the baby while Linda floated in and out of the scene just like she always had. For the first time, Nancy really started to see Linda for who she truly was. It took some time, but she could not ignore it any longer. Linda was a total wreck, not just in the typical messy way. She was careless, reckless, and not fit to be a mom. There were times when Nancy tried to reach out to Linda, but it was obvious that Linda just was not interested. She was too caught up in her own selfishness to think about her son or anyone else. I think that was the moment when it finally hit Nancy that Linda was beyond saving, and more importantly that she could not keep supporting her without question. The breaking point came when Nancy walked in on Linda smoking a cigarette while holding the baby. I do not think I can even explain how that moment must have felt for Nancy. It was like a slap in the face after everything she had been through. Nancy lost it. She snapped. It was no longer about being a good mother to Linda. It was about protecting this innocent child. Without hesitation, she made a decision to call CPS. CPS came in, and after a thorough investigation, the baby was removed from Linda's care. The little boy was placed in Nancy's custody since Linda had made my in-laws the godparents. It was easy for them to step in and take him. It is crazy to think that in the end, the very people who Linda had put through hell were the ones to give her son a chance at a better life, but that's what happened. Linda definitely did not handle it well. She attacked an officer from CPS, and of course she got arrested. Turns out there were multiple charges against her, some from before she got pregnant. She had been mixed up in various criminal activities like theft and maybe some drug issues, and now it's all coming back to haunt her. Honestly, I'm not sure if Linda can turn her life around at this point. It feels like she's too deep in it, and everyone around her is fed up with getting pulled into her chaos. Nancy, on the other hand, has been slowly working on reimbursing us for the damage Linda caused to our house and our other property. To be honest, I never thought I would see the day when Nancy would step up and make it right, but she's doing what she can. It is not happening as quickly, but I understand that she's now focused on raising a child. We told her to take her time. This baby needs her, and it is clear she's fully dedicated to making sure he has been well taken care of. Mason has been pretty supportive of Nancy's efforts to raise the baby, but he's also not letting her off the hook. He's still asking for the money she owes us, and I can tell he's getting frustrated. It has been months, and while he understands she's taken care of the baby, he does not want this to slide. I get where he's coming from, but I also feel bad for Nancy. She's in over her head with this baby, and I think the last thing she needs is more financial pressure. Still, I know Mason's point. We should not have to absorb the cost of Linda's mess. It's just a complicated situation. As for Linda, she's in jail. Linda has hurt so many people, and at this point, I think everyone is just done with her. The only thing left to focus on now is the baby, and I think we've all made peace with that. It's not the ideal situation, but it is the one we have, and we are doing our best to make sure this little boy grows up in a loving and stable environment. It has been a lot to deal with, honestly. There are days when I feel so angry about everything Linda has put us through. I am mad at Nancy for enabling her for so long, and I'm mad at Linda for being so selfish. But then there's the baby. I cannot help but feel grateful that he has a chance at a better life now. He deserves that, and I think he will thrive with the right people around him. So that is where we are now. Nancy's slowly reimbursing us, Linda's been arrested, and we are all focused on helping take care of the baby. It is far from a perfect situation, but it is the reality we're dealing with. We're just trying to move forward one step at a time. It is exhausting, but we are making it work.